This is going to be a more informal approach, which I prefer anyway. What we're talking about here, please sit down. We're talking about where and how innovation happens and will happen and should happen. And I hope to range widely, and I hope because it's a relatively smaller group, we can really have it really be a discussion among everybody in the room. So we've got great panelists. We've also got a whole hour, well, not according to the clock, close to an hour. And I really want to hear from all you. So, and I know I will probably force you to speak even if you don't get your hands up. That includes you, Jerry. Just joking. So, real quickly, let me just introduce this eminent group of technologists and business leaders. Immediately to my left is Don Ferguson, who is the CTO of a CA Technology. No, it's just now CA, right?
CA Technologies.
Oh, CA. Okay. Did you change your name twice?
Me personally or the company?
Not you personally, no.
Oh. No, it's still...
They made it CA briefly, right, without the computer associate.
Yeah, but it was embarrassing every time you went somewhere and you said, where do you work? And you said CA, they wanted to know what part of California.
Oh, I see. Okay. That's good. I think you need to have your mic turned up louder because your wry comments must be heard.
No, I speak very softly 98% of the time, and the remaining 2% I have to be kept in a cage.
That's the percent we want on stage. Okay. So anyway, Don was at IBM for many, many years. He was an IBM fellow, which is a serious thing. That means a lot. And now he's at CA, along with a lot of other IBMers who are over there trying to make that thing come alive again. And they're doing a decent job of it, from what I can tell.
Very good job, yeah.
Nobuyuki Idei is somebody who doesn't really need much of an introduction. Longtime CEO of Sony, now doing all kinds of things, including having his own conference called the Asia Innovation Forum, which has a lot in common with our event, and in fact, which we are talking about maybe partnering with in some fashion. He's also on the board, as I think I mentioned sometime along the line yesterday, of Accenture, as well as Baidu, which, and what's the other, it's a Japanese?
It's a young Japanese company called Freebit.
Freebit, a Freebit Japanese internet startup. But I just find being on the board of Baidu has got to be an extremely interesting thing and very relevant to this discussion, which we will return to. Kevin Johnson, someone who I know well from his days when he was one of the huge major guys at Microsoft, which we worked at for a long time, now CEO of Juniper and a sponsor, which we're very happy of, and CA is also a sponsor. So Kevin is doing some nice things to shake up Juniper, and we're happy to have him here. And but I wanted to start with Don. I want you to just talk. What do you think about the theme? This issue of where innovation happens. You had some acerbic comments that I thought would be useful for everyone to hear.
People would ask me what I did to become an IBM fellow, and I had 3 answers. The first one is every good idea I ever had I stole from a customer. The second one is I had a great ability to plausibly be able to claim credit for the work of others. And the third one was luck. And so I thought about this, and at least in the software business, the enterprise software business, the primary source of innovation is working with customers. Every product that has been massively successful has started out as a joint project with a customer. And it's surprising that we forget that sometimes, because that's been true by and large of the history of enterprise software, even back in the System 360 days. One of the things that's, and this goes back to who's getting innovation right. I thought it was an interesting question, and I thought about it a bit, and almost every company, including CA that I look at, and acquisitions that we either acquire, startups we either acquire or look at acquiring, have this funny hybrid model where some part of the people are in the United States and then some part of the people are in India or China. And part of the reason for that is you need people near where the customers are, and still the predominant buying centers in enterprise software are in North America and Europe. but you need to get people in China and India to contribute to the innovation. So in some sense, either everyone, US and China are getting it right, US and India are getting it right, or neither is, because there's this symbiosis where neither one of them seems to be able at this point to do innovation without the other.
But let me just tie back to the thing you started with about what you learned from customers. I think the way to tie that in, and just I'm putting words in your mouth because you uttered them before when I was talking to you, you said that since IBM and CA both have such a huge proportion of their customers in the financial services industry, it has proven to be a huge benefit to be around New York, right?
Yes. Sometimes when you are in technology as IT software, and you're not either in Silicon Valley or Redmond, you sometimes feel like you're in Siberia. But part of the reason that companies like CA and IBM were so successful is a lot of leading edge innovation comes out of financial services. And there's a lot of financial services on the East Coast, New York, Charlotte, Hartford, Boston. So in many ways, being on the East Coast is useful. And again, to do innovation, you have to do joint projects with customers, and it just makes it a lot easier when you're near where they are.
So Kevin, you spent a lot of time in Seattle. You're now in Silicon Valley. Does that same logic apply from your point of view? I mean, in a way, it's not exactly the customers, but it's the ecosystem, right? Or how do you think about that?
Well, I guess, in my experience traveling around the world, working around the world in information technology, and I think the same would be true whether it's biotech or green tech, there's a set of ingredients that I think go into creating the environment for innovation and great breakthroughs to happen. And, it's got to start with the raw talent and the IQ. And certainly there are smart people in every part of the world. That's just a fact. What then either advantages or disadvantages certain geographies then starts with the educational system. How well are they able to take raw talent in people and give them access to education and concepts? And then from there, it kind of goes to where are their pockets of expertise? Pure research, which in a lot of cases follows higher ed. Where's the academia pure research that's funded for just pure research? It's then that pure research that gets commercialized, which requires intellectual property policy and requires access to venture capital. And, to have, kind of harness the intellectual capability and innovation of humanity, creating the culture for taking risks, the culture for discovery, the culture of curiosity and aspiration, combined with the environment of taking those ideas and harnessing them, that creates pockets of innovative centers. And Silicon Valley certainly is one of those.
Okay. Now you, at Microsoft, you're not like affiliated with the university though. I mean, one of the interesting things about IBM, I would say, is that it almost created its own university in Watson Labs, right? So there is no great technical university in the New York area, sadly.
Well, having gone to Columbia, I think that's probably...
It's not the same. Come on, give me a break. It's not like Stanford or MIT or Carnegie Mellon.
At 4:41, the meeting went into the rails.
You think I'm wrong about that? You really think Columbia should be thought of the same way?
Yes.
Has it had a comparable impact on entrepreneurship, do you think, at all?
Well, it's interesting, the question about education. Why Silicon Valley certainly is an excellent example, but the quality of the universities in the Boston area is at least as good. And for some reason, there was early a nascent Silicon Valley-like thing, but it never took off like it did. So the real question is, why did it succeed around Stanford but not around MIT?
I think it has succeeded around MIT. I mean, how many people in here think there's a significant ecosystem of innovation around MIT? I do. Okay, so some people disagree with you. You can handle that, I hope.
I'm used to that by now, but...
But I mean, I've spoken to the, what do they call it? There's a group in Boston that's a technology group. It's amazing how many people, companies and CEOs come to their meetings and VCs. They have a slightly lower profile. I don't think Boston's marketing is terribly good for how much tech they have, which is maybe an interesting issue. Their weather isn't as good. That's one thing. But so anyway, I interrupted you. What else were you going to say?
We were just arguing about Columbia. So you go back to Kevin now.
No, but Columbia, what has come out of Columbia? I'm open to this, but
Well, IBM research started at Columbia.
it did really?
Yes,
That I didn't know.
yes.
So that's significant.
Yep.
I really didn't know that. I'm sorry to admit.
CA also effectively started at the City University of New York.
So basically, you're really reinforcing what Kevin said, that there's got to be a university in the picture or something equivalent, right?
Well, take Xerox Park, Palo Alto Research Center.
See, I'm agreeing.
The point I'm making is that creating a place where innovators can collaborate, share ideas, and peer research happens, that's the seeds of things that create great breakthroughs. And it's those seeds that you take and commercialize. And so, then having venture capital and sort of a startup community around those centers of research, I think is an important ingredient in what, and you see it in biotech. You see it in biotech if it's pure research that comes out of pharmaceutical industry that starts to spin off biotech. It'll be interesting to see how green tech evolves as we go forward. But I think those are necessary ingredients.
Okay, so Nobu, you were CEO of a major global Japanese company. You are, one of the more globally minded people I know. You are involved on the board of companies that are essentially American and Chinese. What about, I'm just on this issue of university connection. How do you think about that? How indispensable is it that innovation has to have some deep roots in academia?
Well, I've never thought about relation with university and the private corporation, especially in Japan. There are no efficient collaboration between academia and private sector in Japan. So I don't understand.
It doesn't really happen in Japan at all?
No. I don't. No, what I'm not saying it, but innovation in a corporate level is a kind of a power struggle between the desire to not to change and desire to change. So the company become bigger, so the power to keep as is becoming greater than that of desire to change. So this is the kind of transformation struggle is always between harmony between the two power. So that is my experience for 10 years of the head of Sony Corporation. A part of Sony don't want to change, and the corporate itself, unless the corporation change, we cannot, live for the future. So this is a kind of struggle. But society level, compared to Japan of 1980s, they're full of spirit of the change in Japan. But if you go to, China today, social needs for the change is really big, and also desire to change also big. So therefore, I think next probably innovation will probably come, not everything, but anyway, the big innovation coming definitely from, like current China, there's money and desire and also need to change, and there's nobody to stop it. So I think this is a, great, place of the innovation for the future. Definitely one of them is China.